Once upon a time in a faraway land, there lived a kind and just king. Though he was not a Muslim, he treated everyone equally, regardless of their religion or background. Near the king's palace, there lived a poor widow with her 2 young children. Life was extremely difficult for her, and they often went hungry, sometimes having no food for 3 to 5 days. Despite her struggles, she always encouraged her children to remain hopeful. One day, the king announced the wedding of his son, and the entire kingdom was filled with excitement. The date was set, and everyone began preparing for the grand celebration. The poor widow was also happy, believing that the king would invite them, and they would finally have food to eat. She reassured her children, saying, "Don't cry, soon, we will enjoy a feast at the wedding." Her words filled the children with hope, and they eagerly awaited the celebration, dreaming of delicious food and joyous festivities. Finally, the wedding day arrived. The palace was beautifully decorated, and an abundance of food was prepared. Guests from far and wide came to celebrate. However, in all the excitement, the king's servants forgot to invite the poor woman and her children. They stayed at home, hungry and heartbroken. The children cried, longing to be part of the grand celebration, but their mother tried to console them. "We cannot go, we were not invited," she said, though deep inside, she was also hurt. The king was busy hosting his guests but eventually grew tired and went to rest in the upper chambers of his palace. As he lay on his bed, he suddenly heard the sound of crying. Surprised, he thought, who could be crying on such a joyous occasion? He walked to the balcony and looked outside, noticing that the cries were coming from the poor widow's house nearby. Puzzled and concerned, the king called his servants and asked, "Why is this family crying on my son's wedding day?" The servants, ashamed, replied, "Your Majesty, we forgot to invite them." Hearing this, the king became furious. "How could you forget my neighbors, who live so close to the palace?" he scolded. Without delay, he ordered his servants to pack food and gifts, declaring, "I will go myself and invite them to the wedding." The king then walked to the widow's house and knocked on the door. When the woman opened it, she was shocked to see the king standing before her. Humbly, the king said, "I am truly sorry that we forgot to invite you. Please accept these gifts and join us in the wedding celebration." The woman was surprised but refused the food and gifts, replying, "We do not need these gifts, we are used to living this way." The king tried to convince her, but she stood firm. "We only wish to live with dignity," she said. At that moment, her eldest son stepped forward and addressed the king. "We will accept your food, but I have one request," he said. Curious, the king asked, "What is your request?" The boy replied, "I will pray, and you must say Amen after my prayer." Without hesitation, the king agreed. The boy then prayed, "O God, bless this honest man. Show him the right path and fill his heart with your mercy. Guide him to the true religion, Islam." The king, without thinking twice, responded, "Amen, surely it will be so." The widow and her children then accepted the food, and the king returned to his palace. However, as he lay in his bed, the boy's prayer echoed in his mind. He felt something change within his heart. That night, he could not sleep, deeply reflecting on the meaning of Islam and the words of the child. The next day, the king gathered his people and made a profound announcement. "I have decided to accept the true religion, Islam. It is the path of peace and truth," he declared. He assured his people, "I will not force anyone to follow me, but if you choose Islam, you will find success in this life and the next." Inspired by the king's sincerity and wisdom, many people in the kingdom embraced Islam. The poor widow and her children were later invited to the wedding and enjoyed the food and festivities. The king's son's wedding remained a grand event, filled with joy and blessings. Now a Muslim, the king spent the rest of his life in peace and faith, leading his kingdom with justice and kindness.